Recently, the government unveiled a new range of tough-on-crime policy. This has attracted a lot of criticism from the political left. Chloe Swarbrick and David Seymour debated the issue on a Herald panel. Here is a clip of that exchange.
Chloe, on-the-spot fines, if you are shoplifting like up to $500, you can get up to $500 fine. What do you think of that?
Well, I think the question really has to be, do we want to prevent crime or do we just want to respond to it? And if we're talking about those who are engaged in shoplifting, particularly many of the offences that we are currently seeing in our supermarkets, then I think we really have to ask ourselves, do we believe genuinely that providing people who are shoplifting food in order to put kai on the table in a cost of living crisis is going to prevent that crime?
Okay.
I think we need to be honest with ourselves and say that it won't.
Do we know that the majority of the food being stolen is food and not wine or high-value products that'll be on-sold?
Well, again, Ryan, I think that the question has to be, do we want to prevent crime or do we want to merely respond to it? Because we've had a swathe of evidence by the likes of, for example, Chester Burrows, the late, great former policeman who went on to be a National Party MP and then National Party Minister of Police, then went on to chair Turuki, the Safe and Effective Justice.
Yeah, no, we know who Chester Burrows is. Great man and had strong views on it, no doubt. But do you think if everybody... Well, if nobody was poor, nobody would steal?
I think that if society were a lot fairer, I think that if people weren't experiencing extreme poverty, then yes, we would absolutely see a substantial reduction in crime.
David?
I think Chloe Swarbrick did very poorly in this clip. She basically validated many people's worst fears about the political left. She made us look like we are soft on crime. She sounded like she was making excuses for shoplifting. She implied that the vast majority of shoplifting is done by people who are just desperate for food. Of course, this is just not true. Many shoplifters are not desperate at all. Alcohol, cosmetics, and unhealthy snack food are popular targets, as are expensive items which are then resold. Anyone who has worked in retail or security knows that there are masses of people out there who are willing to steal things that they simply do not need. Some people do it because they enjoy it. Others do it because they are just too lazy or entitled to bother working for it. And Chloe Swarbrick knows this because one of her closest colleagues famously stole expensive clothing while on a massive parliamentary salary. So clearly, poverty is not the only cause. Shoplifting is a serious problem. It is very common, and stores are forced to raise prices to compensate for it. Honest customers pay more, so the bludgers can pay less. That hurts the many honest, hard-working poor people out there. And David Seymour rightly points this out. Chloe Swarbrick played right into his hand and gave him an opportunity to look like the voice of reason. David Seymour should never be given such an opportunity. Chloe Swarbrick should have unambiguously condemned shoplifting. If you favour preventative measures, fine, but you can't look like you are making excuses for shoplifters. You have to make it very clear that you strongly oppose shoplifting while proposing an alternative solution. Otherwise, you are just reinforcing the worst stereotypes about the political left. I am not even demanding a policy compromise, but this rhetoric could do with significant improvements. Chloe Swarbrick argues that we should focus on prevention instead of fines. Of course, deterrence is part of prevention. You could very easily make that argument. Personally, I support a two-pronged approach. Anti-poverty measures do have a role to play. At least some shoplifting is caused by poverty. Abolishing poverty would be a good move. But I think the other major cause is simply antisocial attitudes. A lot of people have no regard for morality or the common good. They couldn't care less about the consequences of shoplifting. The lost jobs as stores closed down, the higher prices that honest customers have to pay. These antisocial attitudes need to be stomped out. That means building a stronger sense of common identity and community. This is not an easy task, but it is a major part of the solution that does not get discussed often enough. We need to strengthen our sense of community and morality. Of course, fines also have a place. I don't think shoplifting should be free from serious consequences. Some people have a very weak sense of morality. Fines will help to deter them. It is possible to pursue two approaches at once. We can balance preventative justice with a small but necessary dose of punishment. I don't believe in retribution, but some level of deterrence is unfortunately often required. Two approaches can be correct at once. The political left needs to stop playing into the hands of the right by embracing the soft-on-crime approach. But I also don't expect the left to drop its commitment to anti-poverty policy, because that is also a big part of the solution. But I think the correct approach includes elements of each. And the rhetoric employed to discuss this issue could do with significant improvements. Law and order is a major strong point for the right and a major concern for everyday people. I don't want the left to bang the tough on crime drum, but at the very least, don't make it look like you are soft on crime. That is a very bad idea.